Hello, and thank you for tuning into the Gay Space Rocks podcast. I'm your host, Brian, and with me, as always, is my co-host and partner in life, in the universe, and everything, Ari.
Hey.
So, this week, we have the penultimate episode of this current run before we go into another long, dark harvest, where we will burrow underground to stay warm until the sun comes out again. Which I guess is what other people do when their show goes off the air for a little while. Mm-hmm. I imagine that's what Supernatural fans do. I bet 20 to 1.
I think it's right fan fiction. That's what you do.
Yeah, well, you do that from your burrow.
Mm.
Yeah, with your 6 or 7 mole children.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyways,
gotta have good editors.
Exactly.
Solid team of beta testers there.
Exactly.
For your work.
So this week we had the Rocknaldo episode with some fun baiting from Cartoon Network's Facebook page about Bloodstone. And so to pair that up about basically a story about a shithead becoming slightly less of a shithead, we decided to pair that up this week with Gem Harvest, or most of Gem Harvest, the parts that pertain to shitheads being less shitty.
We skipped the pumpkin part. I mean, we didn't skip it, but we're going to skip it for your purposes. Like, pumpkin's cute or whatever.
It's cute. It's a pumpkin. It's great.
Also, Peridot and Lapis are cute. That's our summary of the pumpkin section of Gem Harvest. But anyways, so Rocknaldo.
So this is... I have to admit that I am slightly disappointed that this isn't more creepy, crazy conspiracy theory, like some of the previous Ronaldo-centric episodes were, because I wanted to talk a lot about, like, Bigfoot is an alien and chemtrails and fluoride.
Yeah, all we got was, like, you know, the rock people are putting things in the water supply. And... Which
is a pretty solid reference to fluoride.
Yeah. I was just, like, I think both the times we were watching it, we were like, chemtrails. But, you know, yeah. So it could have been more conspiracy theory funniness. Yeah. But there was plenty else in this episode.
I personally rather liked this episode. I feel like we leaned real heavy on rock people are a solid stand-in for whatever slur you want to talk about.
Mm-hmm. The basic premise of this episode was like how to be a bad ally. So, and you know, you might disagree with that interpretation, but I think that was basically the takeaway.
Listen, if you don't think this episode is everyone's entitled to their opinion. But if you don't think that this episode is about bad allyship, come fight me. Because that's basically what this episode is about.
Yeah. So
because watching Ronaldo talk about how special of a snowflake he is to people who basically talk about people's experience to those people who are experiencing them reminds me of, like, everyday of life, basically, yeah. Like, every trans day of remembrance.
I'm so sorry. Gosh, you'll just have to be patient. It's so hard, you know, but, like, God.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's basically that. Anyways.
We've got feelings, guys.
So the Renalflit, I really like that he had that the rock people hate men. That was
God, so good.
That was a good little dig that was really funny. So I enjoyed that. But yeah, probably the thing that, like, cemented the, like, this is about bad allyship was the, like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, I may never come back to the internet.
Oh yeah,
you know,
like, completely overblown, like, oh no,
guys, don't do that. Like, that's the worst thing. Like just be like, yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't know that. Thank you for sharing this with me, Steven. I'm gonna go about my daily fucking life researching Sneeple.
Listen,
and
to bring some realness into you, if you were, say, talking to a person who has recently transitioned or is identifying as something different and you mess up, don't draw fucking attention to it. Don't make it about you. Don't make things about you if they're not about you.
It doesn't have to just be. I think, like, trans stuff is, like, in the forefront of our mind because of our country and, like, lives.
Right.
But, you know, any sort of thing when you learn something, especially with any sort of marginalized population, just, you know, not making it about yourself.
If you fuck up, apologize and move on.
Yeah. And thank people. That's nice too.
Don't be Ronaldo. Don't be a Ronaldo.
That's the point of this episode, is Ronaldo is learning how to not be Ronaldo.
Yeah, exactly. And I like how, like, one of the main criticisms I've seen of this particular episode is that people are talking about how Ronaldo's character is so unlikable and cringeworthy, and I'm like, it's supposed to be. It's supposed to make you uncomfortable because that's the fucking point.
Yeah, like you're supposed to be like, you're supposed to channel Pearl during this episode and be like, really? Ugh.
Really?
Okay,
Yeah.
blood fry. Like,
Yeah,
whatever.
Don't be a blood fry.
So, yeah. Well, you also said that people didn't like this episode because it did not advance the plot.
Right. And to address that, I believe that our official statement as the Gay Space Rocks podcast, the number one most prominent podcast titled Gay Space Rocks, our official position on this is that there are no goddamn filler episodes because this show is about interpersonal relationships.
As Steven said in the episode, fighting monsters, sharing emotions,
Yeah.
50-50. So we tend to put an emphasis on the latter one, but that's the Steven universe in a nutshell. So,
So this is definitely a feels-worthy episode, and I just like every beat of this is so like if you've experienced like an ally kind of taking over an organization that they're supposed to be allied with, and that's not necessarily about them. It is beat for beat perfect for that.
yeah. And I
the
think
the pacing is a little off on it, but
Stevening all around it's like, no, love and acceptance. We will love and accept you. We're all to the point where you question the validity of your own opinions and place in the world, like
right place in the movement that you are distinctly part of, that you
your
started.
movement, like the Crystal Gems. So I really appreciated when we got to the Stevens, like, wait a second.
Wait. Fuck that noise!
Like, I don't like that you're being a shithead. Sometimes you just gotta tell people, like, hey,
stop being a shithead.
don't be a shithead.
And you know
I don't
what?
like
The
that you're
nice
being
thing-
mean to me.
One of the solid things is when Steven is like, hey, you're a shithead, Ronaldo. After Ronaldo sleeps for like 2 weeks, he's like, hey, I was a shithead.
Yeah.
And he does apologize. Shittily, but...
You can only expect some things from some people.
Listen, he's like an anime nerd boy, so that's some solid character development, I feel like, for Ronaldo.
Yeah.
So, any other things? We paused. We were trying to figure out what because we rewatched this episode. We tried to figure out what was on Steven's bookcase. So one of the things says space.
Space.
Something
And
is
then
something
is
magic. Tell us if you know.
And
Reveal
then
the
a
secrets.
game is on the. Yeah, we looked at all the stuff in the background. One other thing I think that I don't know this episode reminded me of or made me think of was kind of like, since it's so related to the social issues, was like tone policing, I guess. Like Steven feeling bad for having snapped at Ronaldo, being a shithead to him, and being like, I'm sorry that I snapped at you, but you were being really mean also. And like, so it kind of made me think of that, like the expectation of any marginalized population marginalized population, blah, 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 the expectation that they're going to be nice and teaching
Right.
and accepting at all times,
That you have to-
regardless of whatever bullshit someone is spewing at you.
That you have to gracefully bear your burden, and you can't you can't show any like untoward emotions.
So yeah, that kind of stuck out to me. And of course this is a children's show, so that's not expressly identified, but I think it's also the children's shows tend to be sort of moralistic and teachy, and I feel like this is one of those lessons.
Yeah,
that, like,
I think because Steven Universe very rarely dives into like there's a moral to this episode. I mean, there's usually like a moral. I did air quotes. You guys can't see because this is like an audio based art form.
Yeah, it's a
but
podcast.
But they usually have morals to an episode, like somebody learns a lesson or whatever. But I don't think it's usually quite as explicit as it is in this episode. Like this episode doesn't advance the plot, but it's basically talking about some very important things.
Yeah.
That its target audience, which is tweens to teens and not 30-somethings.
Yeah.
So
It was good. It was solid.
Yeah.
Also, really liked the "you truthed him so hard he died."
God, I wish I could truth
And
people
like, if
until
only
they die.
we were both like, if only we could truth people so hard
They die.
that they died, or just passed out, so we didn't have to talk to them anymore.
It would be like occasionally I would just wander onto Facebook and just like serial kill a bunch of people if that was true.
Yeah, it's true. So, and then we talked about how his apology was like, not great. but sometimes you can only expect so much from some people, you know.
It is a good stepping stone.
I am truly an outsider among outsiders, and it's just like, ugh, ugh, ugh.
Right.
But, you know.
I think, honestly, if he was like, if he did 100, like a full 360 and was like a perfect person, it'd be real weird anyways.
Yeah, that's not what people do.
It's still Ronaldo. I want him to, like, I want to cut to an episode of Ronaldo's room. Or an episode I want there's to like hard cut to Ronaldo's room and he definitely has like a weird anime girl body pillow. Like
I'm
this
sure
has
he
to be
does.
a thing.
I
Rebecca
just feel
Sugar,
like...
I know you're listening.
Lol, lol, lol. I also just feel like, you know, it's realistic. Like, you confront people about problems you have, and they're like, gee, I'm sorry that thing happened. But then they're still kind of a shithead, right? Like, you know, like, such is the world. So it's
People don't miraculously turn into good people.
So
they just get less shitty.
You're not supposed to like Ronaldo. He's like that one guy in your friend group that you have to tolerate and have functional relations with, even though you're kind of like, listen, blood fry. Take your sword and go home. Yeah. You know.
So the moral of the story, kids, is don't be a blood fry.
Don't be a blood fry. So then, you know, the next episode that we decided to pair with this, because of the theme of people who are mean and shitty, and do bad stuff, are probably like lonely or messed up, right?
Yeah.
And not that excuses their behavior. So that kind of made us think of Gem Harvest.
Right.
So that's the next one we're going to talk about.
And so Gem Harvest opens up, and we're going to kind of gloss over the first, like, I don't know, 6-7 minutes of it, because it's like Steven brings a pumpkin to life, and Pumpkin's real cute. I like that we now have an animated pumpkin dog creature as part of the crew. It's cool.
Lapis and Peridot trying Earth things. Being hobets. Like hobos, but lady hobos.
Lady hobos.
Hobets. According to Uncle Andy. So,
like our
socializing a fine American barn.
Yeah. Our sweet lesbian socialist commune farm. So getting to Uncle Andy showing up, I think they do a really good job of making you just like not like him, but he's also funny as fuck.
Yeah.
If you've had a shitty relative who is super shitty, but occasionally when that thing is not directed at you, it's fucking hilarious.
It's true.
It's basically Uncle Andy.
Yeah.
As a Southern person, I've got a lot of family like that.
It makes me think of your family like a lot.
Yeah. It definitely is like my papa.
Yeah.
Like, who is occasionally cringeworthy, but is usually pretty fucking funny when it's not happening to me.
Yeah, my family is like just shitty and not funny at all.
Yeah.
So your family has some problematic points, but is usually pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
So not all of them, but
every one of Andy's ridiculous insults is hilarious and makes you laugh because it's so ridiculous.
And it's very tongue in cheek, like weirdo hippie Martian immigrants, like this is pretty, you know. And I've seen a lot of criticism of this episode online, that it's like them trying to handle a subject and saying like it's okay for people to be bigots, you know, and you can still love them, but like the reality of it is that sometimes people are, and you have to continue having relationships with those people, and sometimes by just being around them they'll become kind of less of a shithead. Because I mean, listen, we all have shitty members of our family, and those of us who don't just like exile that member of our family to the fucking nether realm and forget that they exist, have to continue to work, like, just deal with them. You never have that choice, though, really. I mean, I feel like a lot of the times you don't. But you know, it is worth saying that I feel like, and I think that the idea is that, like, they don't put these things that Andy say, they're not saying that they're necessarily okay, because a lot of the cast reacts to it. They're like, hey, motherfucker. And I mean, Lapis is gonna just drown him. Like, I mean, Lapis is way into drowning people. It's true, she's way into drowning people. She's like, haha, this is fun. But every time he blows up, everyone has a reaction that tells him basically that this is not okay, that he is the wrong one in these situations. They don't normalize it. Which I think they go through a pretty solid effort to do. And I mean, yeah, there's some cringy jokes in here, but... Yeah, and I feel like contextually it's a lot different in our current present day political climate. Rewatching it, and it feels pretty cringeworthy. Not that it wouldn't be then, but I feel like it's more palpable now. Yeah, it definitely has a lot more impact than it did. Whatever that's worth. So one of the other things that I had written down to make a note of is like, I think this is, you know, again, thinking about this as a show for children, the kind of guilt that's used in families was really clear. Like, you know, oh, suddenly you care about Aunt Deb, you know,
Right.
and the language that we use in families, and like, you know, I think it was a good illustration of, you know, we're all just trying our best, and sometimes we don't recognize that in the people that we have relationships with.
Right, especially like when Andy's trying to like shame Greg about trying to figure out what's going on with everybody. And a lot of times the people who are like that don't realize that, like, you know, phones work two fucking ways.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like you can make the connection, and we sort of get there later on in the episode, but like a lot of times it's just the like they you know, when your mom's like, well, you haven't called me in a week. Well, the fucking phone you can call too. Yeah.
And then I think, you know, it was such a clear grown-up illustration of families. And then especially at the end of the episode, Andy's articulation, like, everybody changed, and I guess I could have changed too, but I didn't, you know. And how relationships fall apart and break apart. Right. And die. I just felt like it was a very adult topic for a children's show to address.
It's a very real ass family moment.
Yeah, definitely. So so the party was really cute.
Let's all get married
to each other. And we threw in a birth and a death and the maximum amount of human life events. The gems are so cute. They tried.
We're sorry for your marriage. I like the table sitting around, because this is the first time we've gotten like a big group gym interaction. I think I'm just gonna say it. It's a definite fact now.
Alt facts.
Rock facts.
Rock facts.
But yeah, and the interactions between them, because it definitely feels like a family who's together often, but they don't interact on like a minute-to-minute basis. Because we had, you know, the Crystal Gems on one side, and then Steven and the Barn Kids on
and
the
that
other
was
side.
the reason. I mean, that was the reason Andy left, right? Is that he realized that this was a family without him, that he wasn't a part of. Like, he didn't get the jokes, and he couldn't be a part of the conversation. And Pearl made it clear that he wasn't getting thanked for the dinner. You know, so that's part of the reason he left, is that it was the palpable feeling of like, this is a family dinner. This isn't
my family dinner.
Yeah, this isn't my family dinner. So that was a good illustration. I also really liked the like Rose impression that Amethyst and Peridot did. Like, this corn is beautiful, each kernel is unique, blah blah blah.
I now see the value in your corn.
I was going to colonize this table and use it, like, mine it for its resources, but so that was really cute too.
Lock this corn away in a mirror for thousands of years
and see how it feels. Like, oh no. Also, Peridot and Lapis, like, you know, it would be a reward for that. Like a reward. High five.
Boom.
Yeah.
Mic drop.
That was really cute.
I like Lapis and Peridot being like the petulant teenagers of the Crystal Gems family. Like, I know some people had issues with the new Crystal Gems and their attitude, but I like those two and their dumb interactions and like how much younger they are to the rest of the Crystal Gems. Because Amethyst is like our like early 20-somethings big sis, and Lapis and Peridot are just some more kids that we picked up.
Yeah, random teenagers.
Random teenagers
that are thousands of years old, as they'd like to remind you.
Thousands of years older than you. Like,
so.
Thousands. So, the, I liked when we got past this, once, you know, Andy flies up into the air, and Steven almost dies for the 14,000th time in the series.
And Lapis just being like, okay, bye. Peace. I'm gonna
throw me onto the plane. All right.
Cool, whatever. No, that's fine.
Listen, he probably could have survived that.
Like, listen, she doesn't have a good handle on reality.
She doesn't know how. She likes drowning things for fun. But Andy's realization is pretty solid. I mean, we get a lot of like rapid character development for Andy, but you know, it's a cartoon, whatever. But like Andy's realization, like, everything changed, but he could have also changed, and then he realizes that he was wrong for doing that. Mm-hmm. It's like, I wish that occasionally my racist uncle would just come to the realization that he's been being a shithead and becomes a nice person. Like, I wish my world was like that so much.
I mean, I don't think that his world is like that either.
It's true.
Like, he realizes that he lost his family because of actions of his own, and he's still, like, you know, for lack of a better example, still calls Pumpkin a freak of nature. You know,
Pumpkin's a freak of nature.
I mean, Pumpkin is a freak of nature, but, you know, like, things don't change overnight. And so I think related to, you know, the Ronaldo shitty apology, you know, and he didn't change overnight either.
You can't expect people to become perfect overnight. You just can expect them to hopefully be less shitty.
Yeah. And it's a hard reality to deal with. I mean, like, as a person in the real world who experiences this, like, at what point do you stop being in relationship with people that are potentially harmful or hold harmful views? You know, that's a heavy fucking subject that even grown-ups don't deal with very well.
Exactly.
So, yeah. Do we have anything else about the gem harvest?
No, that's pretty okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I feel fun fact for those of you who don't watch Aqua Teen Hunger Force, Andy is voiced by Carl from Aqua Teen Hunger Force, and that's literally the only role other than Uncle Andy I know him for, and it's pretty funny to me because he says a lot of like very Carl from Aqua Teen Hunger Force things. So it's pretty fun. From when I was like an edgelord teenager and loved that show.
You were
super edge, so edgy, guys. This week we actually got into some other media that we'd like to talk about, specifically Ari. Ari had a great time this week watching some new animated features.
It was just one day.
Just one day.
It was one day of my life I can't get back.
Poured it into their eyes.
I did. Oh, no. I guess I'm talking about this now. Am I talking about this now?
Yeah, you're talking about this now.
All right. So I've been holding off on watching that their gay ice skating anime.
Yuri on Ice, for those of you who
didn't
don't know.
I mean, you know, because like you're on the internet, so you fucking know. And I watched all of it on Sunday, and it wasn't like it was great. I mean, the animation is beautiful. It's breathtaking or whatever. You know?
Yeah, it does look very well.
It's very attractive, but the plot's pretty repetitive. It's not the strongest. There are some funny things, like the humor is good in it. But no one told me that it wasn't actually gay, and now I want to blow up the world.
Yeah, see, so I've only known this thing tangentially from, like, Tumblr.
Yeah, I know, like, me too. I've had people in real life talk to me about it, and they're like, yeah, the gay ice skating anime. And I'm like, oh, yeah, the gay ice skating anime. And everything I'd seen on the internet was like, gay, 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 and not like, this is just really intense queer baiting, unconfirmed relationship nonsense. And I just was like so mad. And I know it's getting another season. Don't write things. It could happen. And it's 2017 and I want actual real gays.
We just tripped some algorithm on YouTube, and like now all the Yuri on Ice people are listening to the podcast. Furiously
We're gonna be famous.
Away.
I hate Yuri on Ice. Share this a million times. Actually, I mean, I was just really disappointed.
Yeah.
So
no strong feelings, really.
My other partner, said that I got Sherlocked,
which is a great new verb, guys.
It's basically just like really intense queer baiting is what Sherlocked is. In case you were wondering, it could be applied to other things.
You can also be supernatural.
Ugh. Yeah, but I don't like that. Conversely, now we really are. Someone's gonna blow up.
I know
our house.
We've mentioned so many things that we're just
let's
shit talking
list
every
all the
fandom.
things we don't like.
All the intense fandoms. Let's just shit in their front yard.
Steven Universe.
Yeah. Fight us.
So yeah, I was just really sad, and I really wish that like Crunchyroll would invent a time machine to take me back in time to retrieve those hours of my life.
So have you watched any other like sports animes before?
I watched that tennis one.
Okay, so
back in the day,
yeah, King of Tennis or what have you. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, is this like? So, do you feel like this is more progressive for a sport? Because I know this is technically like a sports anime, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, I know. I mean, I get the reasons why it's compelling, and I don't really want to like talk about why it's like good for what it is. And I understand that it's revolutionary because it's representing two main characters from, you know, traditionally very homophobic countries like Japan and Russia, and censorship, and it's not necessarily classified, even though like Japan like produces a whole bunch of gay things in terms of questionable content.
Right.
In terms of a mass marketed thing, it's kind of new, and I appreciate that or whatever. But that's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about how I watched 7 hours of that shit, and it wasn't gay. And I didn't know. If I had known ahead of time, I probably still have watched it, and I would have been fine. But I was just expecting something more.
So we blame you, the internet.
Yeah, the internet. Like,
thanks
fucking
a lot.
Someone on Tumblr should have been like, hey, I'm pissed off this wasn't actually gay. And I would have been like, what? And I would have read that. But no one did that. The fuck, internet.
So step it up, the internet.
Yeah.
As a whole.
Yeah. So, you can talk about how it's not marketed as something. It's marketed as a sports anime and blah, blah, blah. It was progressive for what it is. And, that's fine. I don't care. I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about how it's not gay. And I was mad.
Okay. That's fine. It's a valid opinion. Re. So this week I want to talk about Squirrel Girl. Okay. So I really like the comic Squirrel Girl, and recently it's become good. Squirrel Girl used to be just a joke-ass character from the Great Lakes Avengers, and yeah, I know you haven't heard of the Great Lakes Avengers. Don't wiki it; they're just a fucking side team. But her character she's got all the powers of a squirrel and all the powers of a girl, and
quite an array of powers.
Yeah. And so she's been showing up more and more recently, probably in the last 6-7 years, as a background character in Marvel Comics. She was like the babysitter for Jessica Jones and Luke Cage. She's kind of hanging around the Avengers properties. And then recently she's gotten her own comic book where she's going to college. She's a freshman. She's a computer science major. And the comic is fucking phenomenal. Like, I feel like if you like Steven Universe, if you like a show where the main character talks to his enemy and talks them down from their problems, but doesn't mind to punch them occasionally in the face when they're being a fuckbag. Squirrel Girl is the best comic for that. The art is great. The comedy is phenomenal. The character is sassy but not annoying. She's upbeat without being irritating. They've got really great moralistic ideas inside of the comic. There's all kinds of crazy computer science jokes, which are hilarious. She literally leads an army of squirrels to beat a dream monster by using binary hand signs. It's the metalist fucking shit.
It's a good book talk, Brian.
It's a good book talk, yeah. So read Squirrel Girl. I think the new issue comes out this week, probably while you're listening to this podcast on Wednesday. If not, I think it comes out next week. I can't remember. I'm not good with schedules. So next week's episode is Tiger Philanthropist.
Yay. Tiger Millionaire.
Wrestling. I really kind of want to get my friend Vinny, who does a wrestling podcast, to come in and just watch this one episode with no context.
That could be fun.
It would be, because Vinny's a pretty fun guy.
Or it could be cornfusing.
Cornfusing is all get out.
Yeah.
Then after that comes the dreaded hiatus. So what we want from you, because we need to still produce content while there's no new episodes happening. Theoretically. What we would like, if you're listening, if you made it to the end here, I should have put this at the beginning, but oh well.
Those people won't get to know. We don't want their ideas.
We don't. You're the good ones.
Mm-hmm.
You're the best. We want your ridiculous fan theories, and I don't want fan theories that are I don't want fan theories that have been tread all over. We believe Pearl is Pink Diamond. If you have a compelling argument for why
Pearl is Pink Diamond's Pearl.
Right. Pearl is not Pink Diamond. Mind blown. That's not a good
conspiracy theory.
It's a real bad one.
Fan theory.
But or Rose didn't shatter Pink Diamond, stuff like that. I don't want that. I want your ridiculous bullshit fan theories.
Bring us your garbage.
Lay it out on our front lawn. We'll pick through it.
Mm-hmm.
Little
rag and bones.
Little content raccoons. That's us.
Yep.
So leave that in the comments on YouTube, or put it in the Reddit, or we have an email address now, and you can email us stuff. It's gayspacerocespod@gmail.com.
Pod.
Also, if you want to hit us up on Facebook, if you say things on Facebook, I will reply to you, because I am bored at work all day. I can get back to you. Don't worry.
I will not be that person, just for the record.
Nah.
So, yeah.
But if you want to talk on Facebook, if you want to drop your fan theories there, we want to see it. And you give us all your fan theories. I don't care if they're played out. Give us your favorite fan theory.
We won't judge you.
Yeah, we won't judge you. This is a safe space. unless you're like a shithead, and then we'll kick you out. But don't be a shithead. You know how being a shithead is. So once again, thank you guys for tuning in to us. We really appreciate it. And I guess we'll see you next week.
Bye, good night.
Bye, good night.